Hey guys, Dave with First Place Auto Parts, and there's cars that everyone just doesn't like. Maybe there's an obvious choice, like maybe it's some sort of an AMC vehicle, or there's a certain Chevrolet that you just thought was really bad. And in today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the cars individually at First Place Auto Parts that we just hate. Now look, hate's a strong word, but the reality is there's certain cars, and I'm sure you have them too, that when you see them, you'd rather not see them at all or just look away. So there's some cars I forgot about just because I tried to block them from my mind. They were so bad. And the reality is, with the folks at First Place Auto Parts, we have a lot of young guys that are car guys. Their taste in regards to vehicles sometimes is a little different than what I like or don't like, but the reality is they oftentimes have some very unique opinions on vehicles, and I always enjoy hearing them. So today, in today's video, we're talking about part 2 of the cars that we love to hate at First Place Auto Parts. And look, if your car's on here, no offense, just know that individually there's some cars that we really don't like. Now, the first car on our list is one that, quite honestly, I thought was pretty cool back when I was in high school in the early to mid 80s. And I know how old I am, thank you. But our graphic artist, Mike, really doesn't like the Honda CRX. And I'm going to read Mike's comments, just let him put it in his words to explain why. And here's what Mike had to say about the CRX. Every trendy idiot owned one and thought it was the coolest. Typical Honda CRX guys would brag about the car not having power steering, which was just annoying, and this car being loud. Not fast, not powerful, just loud. The car itself came with an underwhelming 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine that, for all the noise it made, didn't exactly get up and go. They boasted it would do 0 to 60 in 9.4 seconds, but nobody could ever duplicate that. The car was unreliable and constantly have a dash light on. Engine leaks were common. Belts constantly had issues. The front-wheel drive setup with very little weight made it terrible and almost dangerous in snow or rain. Wrap all that disappointment together in a hatchback that didn't have enough room to store a guitar, and you got the abysmal Honda CRX. And then you have Lewis, which is going to be one of the guys you talk to when you call us at First Place Auto Parts if you call to place an order, and we hope you do. And Lewis, he hates a much different type of vehicle, still front-wheel drive, but American-made. And in this case, it was a 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado. And Lewis says, I personally hate this car for one simple reason. It was the first American post-war mainstream front-wheel drive. I've never been a fan of front-wheel drive cars in general, and I personally hate driving them. If I lose traction in a rear-wheel drive car, I know what to do. I can counter steer and still force the vehicle to go where I want it. With front-wheel drive, when you lose traction, you lose control of the car. The Toronado was just released prior to the 1967 Cadillac Eldorado, which was Cadillac's first front-wheel drive. Dodge did not release a front-wheel drive until 77 in the Omni Horizon, and Ford 4 years later in 81 with the Ford Escort. From there, front-wheel drive exploded. The Toronado, to its credit, was a very well-designed and beautiful car. The reintroduction of front-wheel drive to the masses takes this vehicle for me. And look, I'm with Lewis. I don't like anything front-wheel drive. I don't like torque steer. I don't like the way they handle, and I don't like working on them. Everything is so compact. Typically, the engine is in there sideways, and it's just a nightmare of a type of setup. I'm not a fan. Lewis isn't a fan. And let's go ahead and take a look at the next one to see which vehicle falls into the chopping block at First Place Auto Parts. In Dallas, he's our new product guy. He brings all the hot new products in the First Place Auto Parts. As soon as they hit the market, we vet them to make sure they work. And Dallas is going to be the guy you can thank for the latest and greatest products available on the website. Now, Dallas tends to go towards a little more eclectic type vehicle, and he didn't let me down on this one. In this case, Dallas really hates the 1960s to the 1990s Excalibur line of vehicles. And per Dallas, the 1960 through 1990 Excalibur automobiles were styled after the 1928 Mercedes-Benz SSK. The early cars started out as Studebakers with unique bodywork, and Studebaker, who originally commissioned the vehicles, were not a fan of the design. They were worried it would face backlash from copying the Mercedes-Benz too closely. The car started off with a 289 V8 Studebaker engine and then transitions to the much more reliable 327 Chevrolet V8. The Excalibur cars and vehicles like it make an attempt to replicate the 1920s exterior vehicle design while mixing and matching the 1960s through 1980s mechanicals, instrumentation, and interiors in a way that is rather jarring and dated at first glance. In Dallas, my good friend, I agree with you 100%. The Excalibur, I don't care what year and what motor was under the hood, it's just ugly. And look, if you have one, I don't mean to offend, but the reality is the thing just looks out of place. It's overly styled and underpowered, even with the 327 Chevrolet V8 engine underneath it. It's not really the sound you expect to come from that car, and the mismatch of parts, like the thing just looks like a Rubik's Cube gone wrong. Dallas, I'm 100% with you on the Excalibur. I don't like that car either. And my vote for the car that I hate the most, and look, this is going to be a second tier hate because I've already given you my first one in the previous video, which is going to be the 1975 through 1979 AMC Pacer. Look, this thing looked like a huge jelly bean with a ton of glass. It had so much glass that it makes the Georgia Aquarium look like it's short on glass. My grandmother had one of these cars. I remember riding this thing as a young boy and baking in this thing. It didn't matter where you sat and what seat. The sun was always assaulting you with its rays. It got hotter than Hades inside this thing. And it came with typically a whopping straight six that made, wait for it, 100 horsepower to try to push around roughly 3,100 pounds that was laden with smog equipment. Look, the things were terrible. And by 79, AMC actually tried to market this thing as a luxury vehicle. So as car guys at First Place Auto Parts, there are some cars that we hate. The reality is you're not going to find us selling parts for those vehicles either. Again, don't mean to offend anybody, but if you have one of those cars, guys, God bless you. They're unique for sure, but unique isn't always a good thing. Guys, if you do need parts to fix up your American muscle car or truck, check us out at First Place Auto Parts at fpautoparts.com. There we have everything you need to either restore your classic American muscle car or truck, make it go faster, make it stop harder, or get that project back on the road. Guys, I appreciate you watching this video, and until next time, keep the hammer down and keep it between the guardrails.